Hello and welcome to your annual awareness training for hazardous and universal waste management, as well as asbestos awareness for the Unilever Independence facility. First, we're going to focus on hazardous waste and what types of hazardous waste are generated at this facility. First, we need to define what hazardous waste is and how it's regulated. Hazardous waste exhibits a hazardous characteristic, such as ignitability, corrosivity, reactivity, or toxicity. Hazardous waste is regulated by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, MDNR, as well as the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. Unilever Independence is a very small quantity generator of hazardous waste, which means we generate less than 100 kilograms of hazardous waste in a month, or generate less than 1 kilogram of acutely hazardous waste in a month. Pretty much the only hazardous waste generated on site here at Independence comes from residual contents found in aerosol containers. These are found in the Videojet ink canisters as well as spray paint and some of the food grade aerosol containers. Partially full aerosol cans must be placed in the proper waste container. These should not be thrown in trash compactors or in regular trash bins. Please put it in containers such as the gray one pictured there that you would find in the pack hall. What we do then is puncture these containers to drain out the residual hazardous waste into a drum, and the empty aerosol cans that have been punctured are then placed in a scrap metal drum. For disposal of other hazardous waste, if you're doing a clean out of paint thinner and a flammable cabinet, for example, please contact the SHE department first so we can make arrangements to properly dispose of that waste. All hazardous waste generated on site is handled and removed by a certified third-party contractor. Now we're going to focus on some of our more common waste streams found at the plant that are actually classified as universal waste by the EPA. So first, we need to define what a universal waste is. Universal waste is a type of hazardous waste, but it's very common across all industries. Because it's so common, it's given regulatory exemptions so we can handle it in a less stringent manner than typical hazardous waste. Only if you do handle it, though, to the agreed upon universal waste regulations. Some categories of universal waste include batteries, light bulbs, which are defined as lamps by the EPA, PCB containing equipment, mercury containing equipment, and certain pesticides. There are many different types of lamps or light bulbs that are classified as universal waste according to the regulation. These include bulbs such as those that are fluorescent, high pressure sodium, mercury vapor, metal halide, high intensity discharge, as well as LED lamps because of the circuit board portion. Incandescent bulbs are non-hazardous and may be thrown out in our regular trash stream. If you need to dispose of some universal waste lamps, please contact building maintenance or the SHE department. Do not dispose of these waste lamps in general trash or in the compactors. The universal waste lamps containers are located in the Old Lowery storage building. Notify maintenance or SHE if the containers are damaged, contain broken lamps, are full, or have a collection date that is greater than 1 year. Now we're going to talk a little bit about waste batteries. Universal waste batteries include those that are nickel-cadmium or NiCad, mercury, silver, or lithium-ion containing, which are typically cell phone and laptop batteries, small sealed lead-acid batteries, as well as lead-acid vehicle batteries. Your general alkaline batteries, AA, AAA, DC, 9-volt, etc., are non-hazardous, but we still recycle these batteries on site, and the same procedure must be followed that we'll outline ahead. If you need to dispose of batteries, collect all of your batteries and proceed to the parts cage in the warehouse. Tape the battery terminals with electrical tape or duct tape and place in the appropriate container. The containers are located under the work table in the Motion Industries cage. Notify maintenance or the SHE department if the containers are damaged, full, or have a collection date that shows greater than 1 year. In the parts cage, we have a pail for each type of common battery waste stream that we generate here at Independence. We have a pail for NiCad batteries, alkaline batteries, as well as lead-acid batteries and lithium-ion batteries. The pictures below show the common types of batteries in each group. Pictured here is the label on our lithium-ion universal waste battery pail. As you can see, it's correctly labeled with an accumulation start date and has a reminder to tell us to tape the terminals prior to disposal. Pictured to the bottom and to the right are just different examples of lithium-ion batteries, such as those found in cameras or cell phones, laptops, and power tools. Next, we're going to talk about a less common universal waste that's generated here at Independence, and it would be mercury-containing equipment. This equipment must be managed in a way that prevents the release of any mercury to the environment because it's so toxic. Mercury-containing equipment should be carefully wrapped to protect the device and placed in a solid container such as a pail or a sturdy box. Mercury-containing equipment container must have a lid or cover and remain closed while in storage. The main note here is to contact SHE or the building maintenance department prior to disposal of any mercury-containing equipment so we can do it properly. Next, we're going to touch on universal waste pesticides. No employee should have any pesticides in storage here at the plant. Contact SHE or building maintenance prior to disposal of any pesticides. Now we're going to switch gears here and cover asbestos awareness. So what is asbestos? It's the name given to a group of naturally occurring minerals that are resistant to heat and corrosion. There are three main types of asbestos: chrysotile, which is white asbestos, amosite, which is brown, and crocidolite, which is blue, pictured to the right there. Asbestos was used very commonly prior to the 1970s, since it had good properties for fireproofing, soundproofing, and other thermal proofing applications. Asbestos has been used in products such as insulation for pipes, for steam lines for example, floor tiles, building materials, and in vehicle brake pads and clutch linings. So what's the big deal about asbestos and why does it pose such a large health risk? Well, it's when asbestos fiber bundles break away when they're disturbed. If you inhale these fibers, your body can typically resist the large particles and filter those out. But these fine fibers, they're actually too small to see, 700 times smaller than a human hair, can get lodged deep in the lungs. Over time, this can cause diseases such as asbestosis, which can reduce your breathing capacity, lung cancer, as well as rare forms of cancer like mesothelioma. So when is asbestos a risk to human health? When asbestos isn't disturbed and it's left in its normal state, it isn't damaged or modified in a way to make particles airborne, it actually isn't hazardous to human health. When you have that destruction or a disturbance to make those particles airborne, especially those really fine particles, that can really pose a threat to human health. That typically happens when asbestos materials are damaged during renovation, repairs, or demolition work. When exposure is possible, employers are required to further protect workers by establishing asbestos-regulated areas, controlling certain work practices, and instituting engineering controls to reduce the airborne levels, and ensuring exposure is reduced by using administrative controls such as paperwork and providing for the wearing of personal protective equipment. So what do we do here at Unilever Independence to make sure that the risk of exposure to airborne asbestos is negligible? First, we maintain an inventory of known asbestos-containing materials and regularly inspect these areas for possible damage. We label areas that contain asbestos to provide awareness to employees. When renovation work is done, inspections of the area are performed and suspect areas are tested. And also, specially trained and qualified contractors are employed for appropriate removal of asbestos areas. The big important thing here is if you see an area that's damaged and it may contain asbestos, please report that to site management immediately. This concludes your annual awareness training for the topics of hazardous and universal waste, as well as asbestos. Please make sure to complete all questions in Weaver and submit your form. Thank you.